I'm Patrick Bailey with IQlist.com. Today is June 10th, 2018, and in this video, I'm going to be doing two things. One, I'm going to be revisiting a video I just recently did with my son where we created a snowman in Openscad, and that was part of a lesson plan I had for them, and then he went with it and designed his own snowman simply in Openscad. So I'm going to take that design that we did, take the code, and start putting some variables in it, because we just put numbers in it. But I'm going to show you how to use variables in it so you can make it all relative, and so you can just change one variable and easily adjust the size of everything, or maybe a couple of variables. The other thing I'm going to do is once I get that all, put all those variables and parameterize it, is I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to make a little bit more of a blocky snowman. We were kind of fiddling with that, so a little bit more blocky, which to me is a little bit more artsy. I'm going to go print out 2 or 3 of them using some more Christmas colors, at least for like maybe the base and the hat. And I'm going to print them out for Christmas decorations. Now I know it's June. There's a long time until Christmas, but it'll be here before you know it. And also, who knows when you're watching this video? It might be December 24th, right? Because, hey, this video will be up for forever. But anyway, with all that in mind, let's get going. Now, some of you out there may not be aware what Openscad is. Now, it's a really cool tool that lets you design 3D designs via code. So you can say, draw a sphere here with a radius of 4, and it'll draw a sphere there. You can draw a square here, and you can combine them. You can subtract the shapes, and it's all very mathematical. So we're starting to use it in our curriculum for homeschooling a little bit to teach about 3D programming. But as I dive more into it, I'm getting more excited because it's very math-based, very geometric and trig-based. So I can start to probably teach my kids some more aspects of geometry and trig using this tool. And then also, they can print it out and really see the results. So it's really cool. But anyway, you can go to openscad.org and download the program. There's also a cheat sheet at openscad.org/cheat sheet. And just to show you and give you a little taste before we jump in, here's the program. And so you can do some simple things like this. I can draw a sphere. So I can just literally say sphere, which is shown on the cheat sheet. Give it a radius of 2 as a command, and then I can render it. And let me update the facet number to 30. Mine got set behind. I can set how detailed I want to make it. So 30 would be more detailed than what you just saw there. And I zoom in. There's my sphere. Now I can translate it and draw another sphere. I can, do some loops. There's a lot of cool things you can do to design things. And it turns out a lot of people out there are utilizing this. As an example, I have a Prusa Mark III printer, i3 Mark III, and all the 3D printed parts with it were actually designed in Openscad. And so you can download those and render them, and they have a history, so it's kind of a really useful tool that a lot of people are using. And for us, I think it's a really cool tool to use in the homeschool. But with that, let's go dive into the snowman design we did before and start to tweak it. Okay, so here's the code we did before, and I already rendered it, and you can see there's the snowman that my son designed. And we did this really simply because I believe if you're homeschooling, you want to do this in stages. Don't make this the most complex program in the world. All we did is we have, 3 spheres, 1, 2, 3, 2 cylinders, 1, 2, and then this bottom shape, which could be a cube, but he chose to do a little cylinder that kind of sloped in. So you want to keep it simple. And as part of keeping it simple, for their first lesson doing this, I didn't even show them variables. So we could do some variables to make this all related. So you can go back, and I'll put a link here where you can watch the original class, if you haven't seen that. Well, I should say class. The video my son did showing how to do this. But here's all the code for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the code the same. I'm not going to make modules. I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm just going to introduce variables to it. So what I'm going to do here is I'll, figure out some relative size, and maybe I'll make everything relative to what we set was the radius of the bottom sphere. So I could say, B radius. And originally we did 40, which I'm going to probably want to change because we actually shrunk this down 75%. But for now, I'll keep it 40. And now that I have that bottom radius, I can go through here and do some interesting things. I can say B radius because it needs to translate that high. And that first sphere is B radius. Radius. Actually, let me go back a step. Let me undo that all. And I will comment out everything else so that we'll see we've got the bottom sphere. And so that sphere right here is this translate, which I My son preferred to, when you do a translate, it'll translate the next piece of code, but not the next one. I prefer to put it in curly braces so you can actually do more. And to me, it's like the order of operations. I like having parens or things like that so I can keep it organized in my mind. But I can replace that 40 with the B radius. Maybe I'll just reduce it down to B rad. B rad. Why not B rad? B rad. And so now I get my same results. But the nice thing is, rather than typing that in twice, if I decide, you know what, I don't want 40, I want 50. All I have to do is change that little number in one place and then run it. And it not only it makes the bigger one, but it puts it in the right location relative where I want it to be. Let me change that back to 40. And so now the next thing, I'll do the translating sphere of the next one. So I'll have the next little bit of code here. And again, I'll clean it up because I like the parens, curly braces, I should say. So if I run this, I should get my second one. Now my second one should be relative to my first one. And so here it's 30 and 40. So I can come in here and say middle radius, right? Middle radius equals B radius. And we can see right now it's 3/4 the size. So I can do a little math. 3 divided by 4 multiplied by the B radius. And I can come down here and I can say middle radius. And that should work. Oh, what did I do? Oh, forgot a semicolon. So now I get the same results. Now what I also want to do is I want to translate that in the correct position. So that's 90, which turns out to be, what you really want is that, which should be, if you think of the radius in the top and the bottom, to get to the top of the second sphere would be 80. And so what you'd probably do, how would you do it? It'd probably be, if I want that 90 number, and I do, I'd probably say 2 times B radius. Then I need 10 more, which is 1/3 the middle radius. So I could say multiply that by 1/3 the middle. 1/3 times the middle radius. Well, I need to add them. So that would give me the right number. So 2 times the bottom radius is 40, and then 1/3 the middle radius, which we already have as 30, is 10. So that gives me the correct number I want. And now they're relatively tied together. So the nice thing is I can come in here, you know what? I want a bigger snowman. I'll make it 60, and they both should become bigger and move relative to each other, and so it has the exact same proportions. So far, so good. I'll shrink it back down. So let me do the next one. Again, I'll do a little cleanup here, and that's just based on my preference. Okay, so now if I run this, I'll get the third one. And there we go. So now the third sphere is half the size of the bottom. So it's 20 when that one's 40. So I'll come up here and say top radius equals 1/2 times the bottom radius. And I'll come down here and say top radius. Top radius. And so now in this thing, what do we want to do? It gets a little more confusing. So if we do that, we want to have it relative, we want to have that position relative, and I want to get the number 130. So let me think about this. So if I have 2 times 40, which is the bottom radius, I get 80. But then I have another, what do I have there? Another, that gives me 20, 50 more to go. Now my middle radius is 30. But it's moved a little bit, right? Because over here, we actually had the number 90. Before we had the number 90, right? So we could add to that. Well, we could subtract from that because we're going, well, add. Well, if we do 2 times the middle radius, which is 30, that's going to give us 60. And if you add both those together, you probably have too much, right? You get 140. A little too high. But there's some tweaks because that gets squished down, that one gets squished down, they relatively get squished down. You might have to fiddle with this. But let's say I added both those together, you get 140, And then I could subtract 1/2 of the top radius. There might be some better ways to do that, but that would give me the number I want. So let me try that. So I can do 2 times the bottom radius plus 2 times the middle radius minus 1/2 times the top radius. Let's see how that works. It looks the same. Perfect. So now if I go up here and I change this to a base of 60, hopefully it works. Nope. It's bigger and it looks the same. So I think those relative proportions probably work pretty well. So I'll go back to 40. So now we have the top hat, which consists of 2 cylinders. So we'll come down here, and luckily we're not translating these cylinders because they go all the way through. So we'll do that first one. Oh, that's the bottom wedge. And the bottom wedge is all relative to the size of the bottom radius because it's kind of meeting up there. So we can say, you know, that's 40, so we'll make that relative, B radius, right? That is 1/4 times the bottom radius. And this one is 50, so it'd be 5/4 times the bottom radius. And that should get us the results we want, and that should work as we get bigger and smaller. Looks good. If I make it 60. Looks good. So you can see, as I've done this, I only have one place to change the variable to affect everything else. Okay, next thing. The base of the top hat, I think. There we go. Now these 14s, that should be relative to the top hat radius. And our top hat radius was 20, right? So we can say 14 divided by 20 times top radius. And the same thing again, 14 divided by 20 times the top hat radius. And that should work. Yep, works. But then I gotta get this 150 number. Okay, so if I do 2 times the bottom, which is 40, I get 80. If I do 2 times the middle, I get 60. And you add those together, you get 140. And then if I tweak the top, I only want 10 more. My top is 20, so if I do 1/2 times 10, times 20, I get 10, and I get the number I want. I think that'll work. So I can say 2 times, well, I can be convenient because they're both 2. 2 times the bottom radius plus the mid radius, right? That should work just fine. In fact, let me separate those out so it's easier to read. Then what I want to do is add to it again. So we'll add 1/2 times the top radius. That should work. And it does. And if I make it bigger, hopefully it still looks the same. And it looks the same to me. Good. Good, good, good. And then the last one, which is the top part of the top hat. There we go. We got 9, so we'll say 9 divided by 10 divided by 20. Yeah, 9 divided by 20 times the top radius, and 9 divided by 20 times the top radius. Boom. Works. But then I got this 170 number. So before I had 150, that's 10, so I probably have to multiply this by 3 divided by 2. I think that would work. if I do that and reuse this idea, but instead of 1/2, we say 3 divided by 2. There we go. There you go. So now it's all, I'm using variables for everything. It's all parameterized and relative. And it's really relative just this one number. So if I do 80, I should get the snowman positioned correctly, and it should just be all the shapes that I want it to be. There you go. Look at that. And also, I think you could probably do a few, I want this all to be relative. So I didn't plan this out, so this may not work well. But if I come down here, and let's say I want a tiny head, I could override the head. Rather than have it relative to the bottom, I could say, you know what, I want a tiny head. And the tiny head should adjust the hat, he says, hopefully. There may be some more geometric principles you want to apply to get it done correctly, but there you go. It's a little, yeah, there's a little tiny head. So I guess the hat's correct. Yeah, that's a little funny looking. So maybe there's a little bit more equation work I could do, because I'd really want this dome to be right on the top there. So my equations are a little immature. I could probably do some better relative, if I thought about it a little bit more, I could do a little bit better relative equations, so that sphere would be on the top. I'm not going to do that right now, but that is hilarious. So I guess you could have a snowman with like a long neck and a top body. Anyway. But I'll keep that like that. So I'll put it back. Okay, so now that I've got all that done, what I want to do for Christmas is make it more blocky. In this case, I can reduce the fragment numbers, fn, the special variable. Cool. And if I go down to 10, you should see it becomes fragmented, so it becomes more blocky, which is kind of a cool effect in my mind. So now what I'm going to do is, I think, if I went down to 5, now it looks like a Christmas tree. So you want a Christmas tree? Go crazy. 8, it's a little more snowmanish. I think the one I liked the most recently was 11. There you go. It looks like a snowman, but it's more blocky than what I had before. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to create an STL file right now, and I will say artsy snowman, or Christmas snowman. All right, come on. We'll call this Christmas snowman. Boom. And then we will go over here and open up. All right, Prusa Control. Open up Prusa Control, and I will drag and drop this artsy snowman. Oh, yeah, that's not what I wanted, because I've made it 80, which is too huge. I don't want that. Let me go back and fix that, because I could shrink it in Prusa. Easy enough. But what I want to do is, last time we did 40, which was too big, and we went to 75% of that, and 75% of 40 should be 30. So let me render it that size, and then make the STL file on the desktop. Let's see, where is Christmas Snowman? Save that, replace it, and then I should get what I want. This is also an important note for people who are putting stuff up on Thingiverse or sharing them. If there's a relative size you want, don't send a giant file. Get the file the size you think you want people to have, and then put it up there, and also make sure it's oriented correctly. And then they can adjust, they can make it bigger or smaller, but it's really frustrating to me. It doesn't happen every time when I download this file and it's that size. Or you download a file and it's huge. It's easy enough to adjust, but it's nicer to have it, relatively the right size I want. So there we go. So now we will we'll do it fast. I'll do it sparse. Doesn't need to be a lot filling inside of it. There's nothing brim, no support. So I'll generate this. It worked out well last time. In fact, I think you'd probably make one of these hollow if you wanted to, but it'd just be, in my mind, too lightweight. And then I'll do, just like we did last time, is I'll put in some swap points. So I want to have a colored base until I hit that right there. right there. Hit this plus button. Now I got a swap point where the printer will stop. I can switch the filaments and it will continue. So I can make this black and then I can swap it out to white. And now let me go to the top because I'll make all my snowman white. And then we will see, where does the hat start? Hat. Right there. There's the hat. Now let me save the G code to my desktop. Christmas Snowman, save it. And let's go print it out. In fact, I'll record one and print one out, probably black and black. You know, black bottom, white body, black top. And then maybe I'll do a red. Sorry, red bottom, white, then red. Then I'll probably do a black, white, black, and a dark green, forest green, white, dark green. So I can have all the Christmas colors. But it'll be the same file for all of them. So let's go do that. Okay, so I got it printed out. And I think it looks kind of snazzy. My wife kind of likes it, but first, let's go over the numbers. So numbers, it took 4 hours and 7 minutes to print. It took 0.038 cents worth of electricity based on 10 cents per kilowatt hour. And also it weighs 0.04 kilograms. So at $20 per kilogram for a roll, that's about 80 cents worth of material. And it has a 10% infill is what I did for it, I think. So total, 84 cents to print, which is not bad. It looks kind of cool. Now, I did print another one. So I printed this guy in black. But what I did do is it looks simple enough, so I decided to run it at 200%. And I don't know if I can do it justice here. I don't know if I have a good lighting. Maybe if I bend a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get good lighting. But basically, at 200%, it looks a little better in my mind because as I was trying to make those corners, I think it bumped out and it was shaking a little bit. And so the lines are a little more defined. And actually, you know, if you look closely, it looks worse. But if you look far away, the fact that the lines are more accentuated, which I think is what I want. So it might be better to run it faster. That's what I'm going to run another one with green, and I think that's what I'm going to do. It just looks nicer. Now that I've got them printed out, though, they lack something. My wife was mentioning, you know what? She was saying, hey, why don't you put a little bow tie on them or something up there, a little scarf or something. And I said, well, that's nice, but I don't have a multicolored printer. I can change colors based on layer, but I can't just put a little bow tie here. And if I did like just a circle around his neck, I think that would look kind of lame. But there should be something there. So what I did is, I'll show you here. I went into Openscad, went in Openscad, and I made a bow tie, a little tiny bow tie. And I'll kind of show the code here real quick. And if people want it, I'll go post it somewhere. But really all I did was draw a little tiny cube right here in the middle. And then let me see, I can get rid of the cube and show what I did. And then I used the hull command that I learned the other day. And all I did was draw a little cylinder here, cylinder here, cylinder here, and did a hull to make that triangle. And then I reused that again, and cylinder here, and made a hull like that, and matched them up. And it kind of looks like a bow tie. So what I did, and they are tiny. So I printed this out. Let's see if I can show it. It is super little tiny bow tie. And so next, I'm going to go glue it on with some super glue and see how it looks. Okay, I've glued the little things on, and I think they look kind of snazzy. My wife's laughing at me in the background.
He impresses himself.
I impressed myself. Right? So they look kind of cool. I like it. So that was fun. That's kind of neat thing you can do in Openscad to make it more, what could be a spherical shape, more geometric, and make a little snowman. I do have a green Christmas color. It's kind of a Christmas green. We'll see. So I'm going to print out a green one too. You know, green that and green top to make a set of 3. So we'll see how it goes. But I kind of think it's cool. Anyway, so that was a fun thing in Openscad. That was just fun. I hope someone out there enjoyed this. If so, get on Openscad and make your own. It's kind of easy to make, and it's pretty cool. Maybe it'll be a Christmas present for someone. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Hey, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up.
If you didn't, hey, give it a thumbs down. Also, if you like what we were doing here, subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button. And lastly, have a piece of info to share? Just post a comment.